Welcome back, one and all, to another day here at the Damage Report. That day is Monday, and Mondays here, by tradition, by law, are fantastic. Francesca, welcome back to the show. How you doing?
I'm okay.
Okay, your voice, not necessarily fantastic, but we're gonna get there together.
Another week in America.
Another week in America. Everyone, what do you think that means?
You know, and America is 3 Ks at this point. And I always say this, but back when I was becoming politicized and people would spell America with 3 Ks, I'd be like, okay, slow down, all right? It's not like there are Nazis out there. Now there are. Now I'm like, oh no, America is America, 3 Ks.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and by the way, when we say, it's America being America, it means one of several things. I mean, the most likely thing is the thing that it is this week. And we're gonna be talking about the shooting in Texas in just a little bit. But to be fair, it could reference a horrid act of police brutality. I think that would fit. Massive tax cuts for billionaires, a little bit rare, but it could definitely be that. Or maybe an entire community of people having their rights taken away, particularly reproductive rights or the right to vote. So there are a number of things. Don't jump to conclusions, everyone, about the particular way that our country has failed this week. It's failed in multiple ways. Get you a country that can do both.
It's a breakfast buffet of anti-democratic news.
100%. As a failed state, it contains multitudes.
Yeah.
In any event, we are going to be talking about what happened outside of Dallas in some detail, as well as some of the issues with our democracy, including the rapidly developing situation in Georgia, the investigation into Donald Trump, and his effort to just take the win there, I suppose. Along the way, we're also going to be talking about Ron Desantis. He's got some issues too. We're gonna be diving into Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month with a devastating poll. And then in the aftermath, we get a chance to talk about babies. I'm just right now just looking for opportunities for me and Francesca to be able to talk about babies. And I think we've come up with a good excuse that is sort of political, arguably.
Yeah, don't get mad at us, the anti-babites out there. You know who you are.
And it's coming. The conversation is coming.
Oh yeah.
With that said, we do have a lot to talk about. And so you're gonna wanna get your liking the video out of the way early. You know what, you do that and then you can just settle in and absorb the fun and the non-fun alike. And along the way, if you wanna send us any comments, tweets, super chats and all that, Francesca and I will respond as we go. You might even get yourself a $100 Blue Apron gift card, and how nice would that be? Also, on Mondays, we release top 10 lists, special content for our YouTube tier 2 and tier 3 members. This week, we're gonna be talking about several weeks out from the end of Succession as we know it, 10 things we'd like to happen in the episodes that remain. So it's gonna be a fun one. And with that said, Francesca, are you ready to start this thing off?
Yes.
And I'm sort of slow rolling it because, oh dear God, not again.
Yeah.
But let's do it, let's talk about it. 2 days out from another devastating shooting, this time in Texas, in a suburb outside of Dallas, we are learning more. We're learning more about the alleged shooter, including links to white supremacist beliefs and content online. We're also learning more about what this means for mass shootings in America. Did you know that this mass shooting occurred less than 10 days since the last one, specifically in Texas? Both of them in one state, both of them individuals who got their hands on military grade firearms and then turned them on American citizens. Oh, also, by the way, it's the 199th mass shooting of just this year. It's May, and it's the 199th mass shooting. I would make a joke about, we're all on the edge of our seat to find out who's gonna be plagued with the 200th, but the shooting was 2 days ago, and so we've already had that 200th mass shooting. Let's keep it real. It might not be national news yet, but it happened somewhere. It destroyed a family or maybe a few. It destroyed a community, and it will soon be forgotten if it's ever mentioned on the national stage by the 201st, which will come probably later on today. That's America, everyone buckle up. That said, Mauricio Garcia is the name that has been pinned to the suspect. He was one of 7 people who died at the scene. 2 others died at the hospital. So 8 victims of the shooting. A witness, by the way, described finding a young boy alive under the corpse of his mother who died protecting him. I was pointing out last week during another one of these shootings that is now, like, forget the bald eagle as like sort of an image, a symbol for America. No, the symbol that best represents America is a woman shielding a child's body with hers, because she has to use all that she has, literally the flesh of her body, to stand in for the massive cowardice and weakness and corruption of all of the political officials that should have stopped that shooting from ever happening. And now in case after case after case, mothers and sisters and teachers have to stop the bullets as best they can with their own bodies. Francesca, there's a lot more to get to, obviously, but what are you thinking?
I mean, the same thing we think every time this happens. And why does it always have to fall on Mondays? Damn it. Because I don't have any more, like, I've cried a lot. I'm just now still reeling from, Jordan Neely's murder in New York, and then this, and that comes in the wake of the killing of the family in California by their neighbor with an AR-15. It's too much. It's too much tragedy. It's too numbing, and it's too awful. And so at this point, I think we can safely say that our government has failed to govern. And this is what the right has wanted for so long, for all kinds of reasons, right? They want to hollow out the government so that it is basically just a conduit from taxpayer money into private corporations. However that happens, lowest tax rates, subsidies and whatnot. But it has fundamentally failed in keeping us safe. We don't have health care, right? We don't have robust schools. Our police force kills us. Our police force leaves us unsafe to the point where people are taking like matters into their own hands and then killing one another. And then we're just riddled with guns. So we're completely unsafe. And that is the number one job of a government. If you can agree on anything, is to keep its citizens minimally safe. And I say citizens, not in the Greg Abbott way, all people who live here safe. And they can't do that. So I'm just wondering, like, what do libertarians think right now? Is it just like, well, you get a gun now? Is that your answer truly? Do you truly believe that? Or do you think that maybe the government has some kind of role in stopping this gun violence?
Yeah, I mean, look, I guess I would say their government has succeeded. They being the ones who got the politicians they wanted. Our government, to the extent that it exists at all, has failed us. But we don't really have a government that represents us, obviously.
Sure.
I was noticing, if you go back to 2018, according to the Gun Violence Archive. Oh, by the way, I think it's important to fact check the media, including ourselves. We blew past 200 mass shootings over the weekend. We're like 203 or something. So sorry. In 2018, it took until July 31st to reach 200 mass shootings. Almost without fail, it's not taking as long. It was June 30th in 2019, June 16th in 2020, May 12th in 2021. Oh, improvement, May 15th in 2022. May 6th in 2023. Where do we think this is going in 10 years? Are we gonna break into February at some point? Do we get to January in our living experience? We're definitely moving in that direction because no one in power cares. No one. By the way, I'm including both the ones who desperately don't want anything to be done and those who theoretically would be okay with something being done but aren't doing what is necessary to make it actually happen. We're gonna get to Joe Biden's statement in a little bit. And you'll notice that what I just said right there is that we're gonna get to his statement because he made a statement. That's what he did. Okay, well, look, we have a little bit more news. What do you know? He had an AR-15 style rifle and a handgun. Oh, by the way, but this is almost a commonality amongst all these. If you want to kill as many people as possible, you will go and buy the best weapon to do that. And so the question is, how good do we want that best weapon to be at slaughtering people? I don't want it to be as good as it is right now, but there are a lot of politicians that are dead set on making sure that it's at least as deadly as it is right now. And it could get way worse, by the way. It's a crazy lib idea that you shouldn't be able to have fully automatic machine guns in America, but there are plenty of politicians that would be fine with switching back to allowing that to be legal. He had a tactical vest packed with ammunition magazines. A reminder, by the way, that they want to kill as many people as possible. One magazine is not enough, so they're going to be reloading. So a further question for you, how often would you like them to have to reload? Bear that in mind when we have discussions about capacity for magazines. The victims were aged 5 to 61. I saw a reference to something like this in the chat. It's a very common refrain on the right trying to ward off the perception that they're extreme when it comes to opposing abortion, that they will then try to flip it on the Democrats and say they're extreme because they want abortions after birth, which of course isn't true. But a case could be made that Republicans are okay with abortions after birth, even up into the decades after, so long as the abortion is done with an AR-15. They seem perfectly fine with that.
Or abortions anyway. What about pregnant people who are murdered in mass shootings?
Yeah.
Are they against that? No, that's cool because their greater love than of children, which they feign, is of guns. I just briefly want to say, John, before we move on to the Biden statement, that this man was in the military and he was, I believe, removed for mental health concerns. I think that it is, and I don't want to say poetic, but it is actually a little bit ironic and cruel that the thing that is killing Americans at this rate is the same thing that has been devised to murder civilians in countries far away like Iraq and Afghanistan and other, covert operations in other places that we've been in the last 20, 30 years. And it is no mistake that under Bush, the assault weapons ban lapsed. And under Bush, we started 2+ wars. So think about these weapons of war, once used against civilians abroad, are now coming home to roost and in the hands of people who were either before or during or after affected by their time in the service. I mean, if you're young right now, if you don't remember 9/11, if you don't remember, like why we have different codes for different terror alerts, if you don't remember why we have to take off our shoes, if you don't remember all of these ridiculous things, guys, this is what happens when you militarize a society, when you decide to be the cops of the world, when weapons manufacturers can make whatever they believed can do more damage to human flesh in the shortest amount of time. Then you flood them into our streets in the United States. And yeah, you're seeing the kind of carnage that you saw in Iraq in 2003. So it is no accident. We have a lot of work to do.
They're very cool though. The guns, they're very cool. They're very awesome. Some people, it's like that's their favorite thing, like an AR-15, like this shooter and many other terrorists, it's their favorite gun. It's also a lot of Republican politicians' favorite guns. That's why they love it so much that they have to put like a pin, because it's their favorite hobby. Not everyone does that, especially for things that don't kill people. I have a favorite board game. I don't have a pin made to show everyone that it's my favorite thing. And if people were going around the country taking copies of Eldritch Horror and murdering tons of people, I would probably be even less likely to have a pin made and wear it proudly if it turned out that my favorite hobby was also what terrorists use to kill people, but they go in a different direction. By the way, we don't know many of the details yet, but we do know that there is reason to believe that this shooter, despite being identified as Mauricio Garcia, has an interest in Nazi stuff. Had a patch on his chest that said RWDS, an acronym for Right Wing Death Squad, which he became a part of on his own. Not a squad, really, an individual, but he was doing it. Appears to have right-wing beliefs, and he was part of a death squad. It's a phrase popular among extremists, including white supremacy groups. We're waiting to find out more information about how deep his interest in this went and whether that was directly tied to his motivation in doing this. But it is apparently developing fast. Take a look at this.
We're also learning a bit more about his background, with several senior law enforcement officials confirming that he did interact with neo-Nazi and white supremacist content online, that he may have posted some of that content and that he also read through some of that content. So learning a little bit more there.
So I don't know what that means in practice. I don't know if that means that he read a couple of manifestos. I don't know if that means that he was an active participant in Stormfront for 10 years. I don't know exactly what it means. What I do know is it means absolutely nothing to right wingers who will say, well, it doesn't matter if he was following all this stuff online. He doesn't seem white, so I guess it doesn't count, as if that has ever been how white supremacy works. See, the interesting thing though, is that when a right winger says it doesn't make sense to me, I can retort with, it appears to have made sense to him. It appears to have made sense to the guy that just killed a bunch of people. So whether it makes sense to you or not, it seems concerning to me.
It's almost like white supremacy isn't about one particular person or the color of your skin. It truly is a system, and the more we depersonalize and understand it as a system, the more easily we can dismantle it. So this is the thing that right wingers will never say, they don't want their audience to accept or understand, is that it's not about one individual being racist, right? It is about an ideology, and Nazism, white nationalism, white supremacy, all of that stuff is that ideology. So, but no, please, let's over focus on, I don't know, what? I'm like, my mind's going back to a black stormtrooper. I don't know, that seemed like such a throwback from all the things that we've gotten upset about.
Well, I mean, the black stormtrooper bothered them way more than all of these shootings have.
Indeed.
Like, imagine if somebody went around gunning down kids and the elderly and just anyone they can get their hands on. And then you're like, you know what I'm gonna do for my Christmas card this year? I'm gonna dress up exactly like that killer. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm a politician from the state where this keeps happening. I'm gonna do it.
John, would you ever dress up as ISIS? Like, would that even be funny? Like, is it even funny to like, well, we're owning that? No one in their right mind would dress up as ISIS on a Christmas card or whatever.
But
that's effectively what they're doing.
That is the same thing.
That's what they're doing.
Yeah. If some rural politicians from one of these countries that they love to hate were to pose with their family with everyone having an assault rifle, it is the exact same thing. I know that we're supposed to believe that it's different because it's a different culture or something. It's the same thing for the same reason. Anyway, you will be shocked to find out that Greg Abbott, despite being the governor of a state that has experienced 2 devastating mass shootings conducted with the same type of gun inside of a week and a half, he doesn't think that we should do anything about guns. Actually, I saw many articles, and I get that if you're a journalist or whatever, you have to do this. But like, as a regular person, whether it's me or you watching this, when you see an article in the New York Times, it's like, despite mass shooting, Texas shuns gun control. Do you just want to like be like, yeah, obviously, why did you waste the digital ink to type that? Like, who thought this is the one that'll do it? Who thought there will be something about one of the victims this time that will break through their icy hearts? There will be something about the place where it happens or the time where it happens, something about the identity of the shooter, some factor. It's like we're all playing mental Rubik's Cube, just trying to figure out the exact orientation that needs to happen for them to be like, oh yeah, no, I guess that is too much death. We should do something. There's no, you spin it for the rest of the time. And they would be happy for you to spin it for the rest of the time because they're making money off those guns. They're motivating their base off of the insanity around all of this. It's not gonna happen. It doesn't matter. As we always say, 100 right wingers could target 100 churches conducting daycare simultaneously across every state in America and gun down thousands of children. They're not gonna come out in support of gun control.
Nope. They will never. That's the sacrifice. They're a death cult, and you have been sacrificed for their pocketbooks. That's it. It is it, John. And the only way, in my mind, you can get to them is when we finally hold gun manufacturers accountable, and when we get money out of politics. These are the 2 avenues that we have left. Obviously, a mass general strike and sit-in around the White House, the occupant of which I believe could be doing a little bit more.
I believe. Well, he did put out a statement, but oh, by the way, Greg Abbott, who says like blah blah blah, people want a quick solution or whatever. Well, gee, I wonder why. I wonder why people want a quick solution when their friends and family members are being blown apart in front of their eyes. He says we're going to address mental health problems. I will point out, as I always do, that if you seriously believed that America has a unique issue with mental health, which it doesn't, mental health problems are found in every society, across every country, throughout every period of history, then the last thing you would want is for people to be able to walk into a Dick's Sporting Goods and buy a weapon that belongs like in the streets of a war zone. They obviously don't mean it. They're also not even doing anything about the mental health care, by the way. They just keep saying that and then moving on. He had it pointed out to him, by the way, on Fox News. So impressive from Fox News. Take a look at this graphic. This is polling on all of these things that we're not gonna get, that everyone agrees we should do. More popular than almost any other thing in politics. Things like flagging people who are a danger to themselves, requiring mental health checks, legal age of 21 to buy all guns, which would have stopped some of these mass shootings, enforcing the existing gun laws, background checks, universal. These are incredibly popular, but we don't live in a democracy, so you won't get those, so just forget about it, move on. Biden responded saying that he wants Congress to send him a bill that would require safe storage for guns and enhance universal background checks, saying, I will sign it immediately. We need nothing less to keep our streets safe. And then that's pretty much it. And I think that we're mostly done with the president, the most powerful man in the world, the leader of the Democratic Party, will probably just go away and then he'll come back for the next one and say the right thing and then do nothing. And then that's pretty much it, Francesca, I'm pretty sure.
It's just so weak.
By Wednesday, that's it.
It's so weak. You know the kind of Congress you have. You know the Senate that you have. Take action. Like what will it take? Nothing changes. I'm so tired of how nothing changes. Is anyone else just so bored? I'm so bored. Yeah, I said it. No, I'm not sad anymore. I'm not numb anymore. I'm bored. I'm bored of our politicians. I'm bored of how everything around us changes. We get amazing new shows, Succession. Hey, HBO crushing it. Barry in its final season, right? Like things happen. We got 2 new presidents. We stormed the Capitol. We don't do anything on guns. It's boring. All right, do something. So we need to make them wake the F up. And I don't know. My mind is just like, I can't believe this dude is asking for our vote again. I'm sorry.
You should just like.
I can't believe he's asking for us to do this again.
No, but again, so Francesca, so we all agree he's not gonna do anything between now and the election, right? Okay, so he's got some free time. Okay, here's what you do then, Biden. You do not live at the White House anymore. The White House is for aides or whatever. They live there. You know where you live? You live wherever the last mass shooting was. That's where you live.
Totally.
You just go there, and that is what you do for the next year and a half. Does it address all the problems we face? No, there's plenty of problems, there's bigger problems. But you're not gonna do anything about those either, so why even worry about it? You now live in and broadcast from on a daily basis wherever the last mass shooting was, and you do not give these people a moment of, oh, we forgot about it.
Brilliant.
You do not give them a minute.
It's a great idea. It's the same as like maybe go to West Virginia, the way Bernie Sanders did to pressure Joe Manchin. Remember how mad it made Manchin? So make these politicians mad at you. Do it.
Yeah, there's a lot of people, a lot of conservatives because that's the thing. None of these mass shooters check party ID, okay? And this is Texas, there's a lot of conservatives being gunned down. Would love to see someone act like it's a big issue. Okay, we're gonna take our first break and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna continue this on something else. I mean, we're going to, but it's the thing that matters. It's the thing that I care about. So we're gonna come back with more, including the responses after this. Okay, thank you for being here. We have fun stuff coming too. So I don't want you to worry. We're gonna get through some responses. We're gonna tear holes in the worst people in the country, and then we're gonna move on to other stuff. We might not get to the C block. We'll see. Anyway, thank you everyone who's been sending in messages. Let's respond to some. Start and Park Racing says, what if we start dressing the guns up in drag? Thank you for trying to introduce some levity to this.
It's just so really, I'm like, I write for the American Prospect on sometimes, and my latest column is about how like gun control jokes are just all hack to me. Like they're all done. And like I think that's a funny
because
joke.
Because we've had so many times
it's just so much. It's
I get it.
And no, I'm not saying it's not funny. Like it is funny in the sweet spot between the mass shootings we've heard about, but it's just like that's a great example. And yet it's the only thing we have. We're racking our brains because we know what hypocrites these folks are.
Yeah, 100%.
Anyway.
Yeah, and we know how much they're benefiting thanks to their hypocrisy as long as we're unable to change things. Smiling Dragon says there were 4 mass shootings yesterday. Thank you, Smiling Dragon. I appreciate that, Jesus. MSM says in a super chat, good morning, thankful to be here. It's been a terrifying 2 days here in Dallas. We've had another shooting on the Dart yesterday. The last 2 days have taught us to hold loved ones close as long as politicians do nothing. Yeah.
Seriously.
Sorry for what you're going through. And I'm sorry for the people living in the towns and cities who will experience the next 24 hours of mass shootings in America. Carolyn Roberts says, people in MA complaining about our gun control that makes us so safe, people don't care. Okay, Eddie Hooper, welcome to your own membership, thank you for being here. Tank Girl's Pet Dragon has been a member for 6 months, says, could y'all keep my child one of 2 in your thoughts and send good vibes? She's cancer free, but she's gotten sick during this last chemo treatment. Incredibly sorry for that. Well, for the most recent issue, but then all that led to it. Sorry, and I will, thank you. Nate G, member for 3 months, says, do you think America can be fixed or have the fundamental founding principles the US doomed us to fail? Fran is the best, by the way. That's indisputable. Yeah, look, I am forever disappointed by the content of humanity, and in particular Americans. However, despite all of the money and the propaganda, most Americans still agree with us on the issues that matter, despite all of it. And so as long as that is true, there is hope, I think. There's so many structural impediments to actually turning that, what people want, into action. But it's not impossible to conceive of a society that it's all people who think that Matt Gaetz is great and Lauren Boebert is clever and Marjorie Greene is Christian. Like we could have that society and then there would be no hope. Then it would be a society that you probably shouldn't stay in.
No, they're a loud minority, but they're still a minority. And I think we have to remember that.
Yeah, and a loud minority that is supportive of the elites who rule society. Many of them are not
also a minority.
Oh, you totally, 100%. Yeah.
I don't know why they don't just lean into the fact that they're a minority too. They have such oppression thirst. They're so jealous. So they want to be a minority. They want special treatment. They are. They're rich.
Yeah. They're 1%.
They're the 1%.
Yeah. Cloud Dragon, thank you for gifting a membership. Tyler Hackner as well, much appreciated. To the team behind the scenes, and just in case it wasn't clear, I do want to start with the second video. Okay, so we're gonna continue with that. Okay, lots more comments coming in. I'm gonna respond to as many as I can. Thank you for all of you reaching out. We'll be right back. So Terry Kennedy Laris has an interesting question. When are you gonna do the damage report from a shooting site? Well, look, I love the idea of that. The issue is that we obviously don't have the resources of the executive branch of the United States. So that makes it significantly harder. But I do like the idea of it, assuming it was offered in good faith. But anyway, I will extend that to members of our audience. And with that, why don't we launch directly into this?
Look, I know we've given a lot of credence to our Second Amendment laws. I'm a Second Amendment pro-gun right guy, but I will tell you, we cannot allow criminals to be running around here with guns, with body armor, and not who they are, know who they are. I think it's time that we start looking at mental health laws, start looking at gun protection laws. We got to do what we got to do to make sure that the right people have the guns.
I think we ought to look at the issue of fatherlessness. We also ought to look at weed. We know that cannabis increases psychoses by 5 times. So I think everything should be on the table, including what you say, maybe improving background checks. But thank God there was a guy with a gun there to take this guy down.
Yeah.
So the fascinating thing about what you just saw is not just that interaction happened on Fox, but that individual, Trey Penny, is a Republican congressional candidate who, look, he mentioned all of the other things that Republicans love to say are responsible for mass gun violence other than the guns, but he also said gun control. She then modified that to background checks. It's a much smaller version of what he had said. And then she added in fatherlessness and of course weed, which as we all know creates psychosis. Perhaps psychosis strong enough to produce people like Rachel Campos Duffy, who believe that that is a suitable solution to the problem that we face. And again, I will say what I always say, if you believe that America is uniquely broken when it comes to a lack of fathers, if you believe that everyone around us is tripping balls on psychotic weed, then the last thing you would want is for them to be able to walk into a store, hand over $750, get a weapon of war, and then shoot up a bakery or whatever. You obviously do not believe the things you're saying, because if you did, you would be screaming for gun control more than anyone else. But anyway, that's a Republican who's willing to talk about a candidate, to be fair.
I mean, if you're listening to this, that Republican is black. So
sure, yes, also true. Yeah.
It should not be lost on anyone how laced with racism her comments were. You see, he is wearing a cowboy hat. He is talking about, again, doing the talking points, but also then like mention gun control. And then she immediately goes to fatherlessness and weed. Anyone else?
That's true.
Anyone else smelling how racist that is? Like, what? What? Nobody's talking about fatherlessness. So, oh God, that's so gross. And I a little bit see his face going like, what? Like he like has a double take a little bit there. Like, lady, no one's talking about those things.
Like imagine.
It's disgusting.
Communities being broken and you're like, fatherlessness, that's what we need. That'll solve it in 60 years or something, slow cultural change, embracing more. By the way, like when we talk about wanting fathers to be more involved in their kids' lives, more like are they supportive of that? They want fathers to be limited to just like dreaming of smoking a cigar and driving a Bugatti. That's what they think that fathers should be doing. Anyway, I look, as much as that video I think sums up what you're gonna get from Fox for the most part, I think there's a video that sums up Fox News in the wake of gun violence better than anything else. Take a look at this.
And just like General Mathis once said, be polite, be professional, but have a plan to kill everyone you meet because you never know.
Christ.
That's the advice coming to you from Fox News, the Christian news source. Everywhere you go for the rest of your life, you should be prepared to murder everyone around you because they're probably preparing to murder you. And all of this is not a description of some sort of hellscape that, oh dear God, how have we ended up in this place and how can we get out of it? They're fine with that. They think you should be more prepared to kill people, but we shouldn't do anything to stop that situation from happening. We shouldn't change anything. We should all be ready. So what's the best weapon here? I mean, I guess it's the mug. I guess that if one of the producers is out there, bust it through the door, because they probably will, I should break the mug over their head and then try to cut their throat with it. That's what I'm getting from the Christian news source. If I can find something better, maybe a light or like a pole or something, I could probably use a pole actually to beat people to death. That's what we should be thinking about. Can you think of a better way to demonstrate that a society has utterly failed?
Yes.
Than that everyone should constantly be ready to murder everyone around them.
Not at all. Or a society that's failed by the fact that in just the last couple of weeks, people who've turned into the wrong driveway, knocked on the wrong door, have been shot and killed. Because exactly that, we've been telling people to stay afraid, be armed at all times. Have a loaded weapon and shoot first and ask questions later. And if push comes to shove and you get held accountable, you just plead that you were scared. That is it. So it's like, yeah, buddy, how's that working out for us? It seems like it's leading to more bloodshed. Or is your argument that the person who was shot at should have also returned fire, and then maybe both of them could have died? America, bald eagle sheltering small bald eagle from AR-15. I think it should still be a bald eagle, John.
Yeah, you prefer that? Okay, so I think what we're gonna do is, for time, we're gonna just get ready for the intro. You let me know when we're gonna do that. There's a guy who's like still defending, like, how dare you say prayers aren't working? I believe in an almighty God. They're not working. There was just a mass. Did you not see the news that happened in your state? There was a mass shooting. It wasn't stopped, actually. It happened. That demonstrates that it didn't solve it. We're a very religious nation, and we have more gun violence. Oh, by the way, the most religious states have more gun violence. So your theory sucks. Anyway, that's all I have to say about that. So with that, we return from every weekend having to deal with some of the worst monsters in America, and it's that time again. The Monday Minute segment was designed to be able to apply to anyone who over the weekend says something reprehensible. But in practice, we might as well just give it to this one politician because she really does sort of excel in this particular area. Following devastating mass shooting outside of Dallas, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene says she was responding to like the guy had been shot or whatever. Okay, good. Thank God for the brave officer that courageously ran into the line of fire to save others. Okay, that's fine. It was brave. It was brave. There were other armed people, by the way, at least one, a security guard that was killed. So you're kind of glossing over that. Oh, also, by the way, maybe we make it so that they don't have to bravely run into the line of fire on a daily basis all over the country. But anyway, that's not the worst part of the comment. We pray for the victims and their families and an end to the mental illness, drugs, and evil forces that cause people to commit such horrors. As a general rule, you can always count on Marjorie Greene to deliver the dumbest version of every dumb argument being parlayed in American politics on a daily basis. So mental illness, drugs, blah, 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 blah. She doesn't go into detail there. Again, like all these Republicans, she believes that we're riddled with mental illness, we're riddled with drugs, and all of those people should then be able to buy guns. But she then just falls back to evil forces. It's just evil forces. It's not understandable. It's not stoppable because evil is ever present. It can't be stopped. I mean, it's always going to be there. So what she said in the guise of being brave is utter political cowardice. We shouldn't do anything. We should just bow down to the evil or whatever. Look, I don't know if I believe in the concept of evil. I think you can identify acts as seeming evil. But if there was an evil, wouldn't it maintain the status quo of guns? Like if you are a future terrorist, someday you're gonna try to shoot as many people as possible. Are you not happy as hell that people like Marjorie Greene are working to protect your rights? Like maybe there are people, well, there are people who are planning their shootings right now. They're planning to buy their AR-15. And they see a shooting and they think stupidly, naively, oh my God, wait, what if this stops me from getting the gun I need to shoot a lot of people? And then you see people like Marjorie Greene and you think, oh good, okay, it's gonna be okay. I'll be able to murder all of those people. If there was evil, how is this not what it is, Francesca?
Yeah, it is evil to do nothing about guns, given how many people have died at the hands of mass shooters. And honestly, Republicans need to get the phrase mental illness out of their mouth. Number one, they do nothing about it. They don't care. They stigmatize the mentally ill. And you have no idea what it's like. So stop defaming this community, which is broad, and not everyone is a mass shooter, okay? And they're struggling to get the help and the assistance that they need. So shut up about all of that. And the evil stuff is absolutely a dog whistle to the fact that these folks would rather be cult leaders than in government. So go be cult leaders and leave your seat to somebody else. You stop pretending that you want to govern when you openly say there's nothing you can do. Go run your psycho cult and go drink jungle juice underneath a bridge in Dallas with the other Q folks.
100%. That's all it is. It's trying to appeal to those same people. The invocation of evil. It's to try to activate those people. It's just. And their conservatives are like, she has her back. She doesn't have your back. She's fine with you being shot in the back. Like, you think she's gonna protect you? She's way more interested in protecting the people that are gonna make a nice profit off of the sale of an AR-15 to the next person who shoots up a mall or a church or a sporting event or a school. She's interested in protecting something and it's their profits. Anyway, with that said, we're gonna move on briefly to our B block. Again, sorry, sometimes the show is what it is. And this is what America is. Texas lawmakers have apparently so thoroughly given up on doing anything to stop gun violence that they have decided they're just gonna try to manage it a little bit. I mean, I guess if this is all we can have, this is what we're gonna do. So 2 state Democrats have introduced legislation that would teach 3rd graders how to use basically battlefield medicine using tourniquets, okay? They'll be trained to stem the bleeding of their fellow students and teachers and janitors and lunch ladies who are needlessly shot up, predictably, and they will be. Representatives Barbara Gervin-Hawkins and Ryan Guillen introduced House Bill 1147 in December, which would amend Gervin-Hawkins' authored Stop the Bleed legislation signed into law in 2019 to now require all Texas school districts to have bleeding control stations on hand, including annual training for all students in grade 7 and higher. So basically, they're gonna have tourniquets approved for use in battlefield trauma care by the Armed Forces of the United States, chest seals, compression bandages, bleeding control bandages, space emergency blankets, latex-free gloves, markers, and scissors. And thank God, because they're gonna need them, because while they have a lot of stuff to control bleeding, they don't have anything to control guns. And so there are a lot of 7th and 8th graders out there that hopefully will become little mini Doogie Housers or Dr. House or something like that, because they're pretty much all that's gonna even theoretically save the lives of the kids that they're in class with. By the way, can I just point out, this story we produced for the Power Panel last Friday. And then there was 2 mass shootings in Texas over the weekend after this. Maybe if there were some 7th graders in that mall, some lives could have been saved. I mean, that's the only thing. I can't conceive of anything else that could have saved those lives, but maybe some 7th and 8th graders. And by the way, I'm not even like, I hate everything about this. I'm not even mad at the Democrats. First of all, they probably won't even be able to get this passed because the Democrats have basically no power in Texas. If this is all you can do, then I guess this is what you do. Francesca, what do you think?
I think that we, for the amount of squawking that the right has done about what masks did to children in school, and they couldn't breathe, and they had to Zoom comfortably in their PJs into their 6th grade classes while they were snacking on kudos bars. I know that's what I ate in 6th grade. You know what I'm saying? Like for the amount that the right talks about what the pandemic did to children, what the F do you think that doing lone shooter drills, having to learn tourniquet care for people who have been riddled with bullets, what do you think that does to the mental health of an elementary school child? Living in constant fear that when there's a knock at the door, that maybe that person is a shooter, living in fear by the evidence, by the fact that school doors, classroom doors are supposed to be locked. Like, come on, the amount of trauma we are inflicting on students who have been either survived mass shootings themselves, seen their friends and family die, or are just constantly living in fear that maybe their school is next. Get out of here.
Yeah, again, it's you know what it is? It's like if you imagine a potential shooter who's gonna go to a school, who's gonna gun down kids. Imagine all of the points where you could stop that. Like I would ideally like to stop it before it happens by screening people, by not allowing them to get the guns, all of that stuff. But I feel like the Republican solution has been getting closer and closer to the death of the kid always. Like at some point it was like lock the door, have a guard. Maybe the side doors or whatever. Eventually it's lock the interior doors. Then it's have backpacks that have shields. Now the bullet's just inches away from their body. They've given up on that. Now the bullet's in the body. Let's try to keep as much of the blood in the body as possible. Like the point at which they will protect life has moved so close.
No, it's absolutely, and they know it's absurd. That's the thing, you guys. They know they're being absurd. They are trolling us. They are mocking us at this point, which is why the only thing left to do is to actually take action, to not let this go ever, right? That's what you have to do. I mean, we have to take our lead from the students of Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, right? Like they showed us the way. Let's continue. We're reaching a year, John, from Uvalde, right? And even then, talking about keeping the this week. Keeping the blood inside children, how did that go down with the cops who were waiting outside like cowards for, what was it, an hour? Almost 2?
Okay, everybody, we're gonna take our second break of the hour. When we come back, we're gonna be talking about some other news. But if you do wanna hear us talk more about mass shootings, don't worry, it's America, we will be.
It's in 2 weeks, but you know what I'm saying.
Okay, everyone. I can't believe it's been almost a year. I feel
I
like
know.
that just happened.
I know.
Okay, let's read a few of your comments, everyone. Thank you for sending them in. Bart Kyle says, oh wait, it's the reefer madness that's part of the cause of the shooting. That train is never late when that is brought up. No issue with, they never talk about alcohol, by the way, for some reason. Anyway, okay. He was also angry that I was gesturing with the mic. I apologize, but what Bart doesn't seem to understand is at any moment, Marissa could come barreling into this room and beat me to death with a C-stand or something. So I need to be ready, and this is what I have. So Bart, if you wanna leave it up to chance, you can. I'm not gonna get caught off guard. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, with that said, Athena Onken, member for 28 months, says, so anniversary on Monday with Franny, you're both great. John, you're gonna be as good a dad as Franny is a mom. Love the show, you keep me sane. Thank you, that's super nice.
Jumping to a lot of assumptions there about my parenthood, but okay.
Arthur Ashbrook says, hi, John and Francesca. You look beautiful as always. John, you look pretty too. Thank you. I wish the news is better. On a serious note, it's getting really sad and I'm almost scared to go anywhere now and I never used to be. Yeah, well, look, obviously, statistically, we benefit from the fact that it's a big country with a lot of places and a lot of people. But still, like, I understand the fear. Before I went to a soccer game over the weekend and my wife was worried before we went to the soccer game.
Yeah.
Oh, no, sorry. She was worried about that. She was worried first we went to see Guardians of the Galaxy. She was worried about that because of course theaters also routinely get shot up too. Anyway, Gamma Ray Dragon, member for 13 months, says the pre-port camera angle makes John look swole. He's either been lifting or eating doped Pop-Tarts. Those Pop-Tarts can actually be psychedelic. I think they need to be regulated. Anyway, Greg Morrison says the reason Republicans do nothing on school shootings is because it decreases the progressive vote. Look, that's funny. I don't agree. I don't think there's one reason that they do nothing on this. And I don't think it's the same reason that it either used to be or we used to think. I don't even think it's really about the donations from the gun manufacturers anymore. I think that helps, but it's just not enough money. It is a core foundational issue.
Yep.
That's what it is. They believe we cannot give an inch.
Yep.
That's it.
And they think it's what people want. They think it's what people want, just like, stripping abortion rights away. And it's like, no, this is a universally held belief that people should have abortion rights. And more, look at the Fox News poll you put up.
That's
people
true.
Want background checks and more.
But what about, like, I think inside of some Republican primaries, I do think that the crazier one, I think, will generally win. But yeah, even a lot of conservatives.
Yeah, because they're all dickless, dude. Because they're all dickless. That's all I have to say.
Also true. James Thompson says, did shootings go down during the lockdown? Well, I read the numbers for when we hit 200 mass shootings a year, and it doesn't seem like it, actually. We still, in the same way that life found a way in Jurassic Park, ending life found a way in America. Okay, over on Twitch, MK Varana's been here for 30 months. Thank you for that. Nightmare for 19. Donkey Teeth Bites for 22. Says, heck with all the politics. Let's just talk about how amazing Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is. Look, I wish that's all my show was. Someday maybe we'll get there. It was very good. Everyone should go watch it. Whiskey Eye's been here for 31 months. Thank you. Star Knight for 24. Much appreciated. Molly Man for 10. Thank you. We got more news coming up. I probably should have said something during the break. Can we just go to the D block? Whenever we're ready, let's jump directly into that video. I apologize, that's on me.
That you come too hot through the whole thing, and there's
it deserves to be hot. I mean, I'm sorry.
You can go there in moments without having it become
Kavanaugh showed that when you say Look, I think the thing is we did such a horrible job of pushing back on all these stupid stories from the beginning that he's gonna rattle off a list. Yes, he is.
So what you just saw is excerpts from a 2018 gubernatorial debate prep session that Ron DeSantis apparently was having with Matt Gaetz. Sorry, Matt Gaetz wearing flip-flops. I feel like that needs to be pointed out.
And a Nirvana shirt.
And a Nirvana shirt, which does not seem like it should be legal. Also, by the way, considering the age of the people he's trying to attract, choose a more recent band, man. But anyway, what is interesting about that is the content. We're gonna get to that, like him telling him he's coming in too hot or whatever. I also was interested to see that DeSantis was doing like the Trump hand stuff even back in 2018. But also, I love the cinematography. It's shot like one of those TikTok videos where a person is talking to themselves back and forth, like a little bit too close, a little bit too low. Yeah. It doesn't look quite right, but that was the potential future president of these United States and whatever the hell Matt Gaetz is these days. By the way, we're gonna go on to just a little bit more of the video where it gets into what if he's questioned about whether he disagrees with Trump. Obviously, Trump is president at this point. Here's what he had to say.
Is there any issue upon which you disagree with President Trump?
Obviously there is, because I voted contrary to him in the Congress. I have to frame it in a way that's not going to piss off all his voters. So what I do is I do what I think is right. I support his agenda in terms of what he's been able to do. If I have a disagreement, I talk to him in private.
Okay, so what this is also revealed, and look, I don't think these videos necessarily reveal much. I don't think it's a massive scoop or anything. But when he was asked that question, his reaction, the tongue in the mouth and the leaning shows that Ron DeSantis, as we see him on a daily basis, as utterly devoid of charisma and likability as he is him working as hard as he can to hide the fact that he's actually worse in private. He's less likable, less sympathetic a figure when he doesn't realize he's being seen. Francesca, what do you think?
This just gives me the vibes of like when I ask my husband to help me with like an audition tape or something, and I get the line wrong, and I'm like, and I know I have to say this line, and like we're going back and forth, and it's just so good. He's like, obviously they're trying to role play, and just do some run throughs. It's good, but he's like leaning. He's like, I gotta word this, and can't piss off his base. This was in 2018. Like this was pre-pandemic Trump.
Yeah.
Like this is pre-Capitol riot Trump. This is like Trump soaring high, in his disgustingness. So it's just, I'm trying to take myself back to 2018 and what was going on, right? Obviously, maybe it was the separating children from their parents debacle. That one was fun, but arguably things were pretty chill compared to how they went. Yeah. And even then he was trying to distinguish himself. Think about now.
They all have to be thinking about when they're gonna need to make that split, especially if they aim to surpass him. If you're a Sith apprentice, your career possibilities going forward are sort of specific, and it's gonna cause some drama. Okay, really fast, we're gonna go to one more clip. Here's him addressing one of the issues that he has, which I alluded to.
Florida lawmakers Matt Gaetz and Byron Donalds helping DeSantis then, but have since endorsed Trump's third White House bid. In the video, aides coaching DeSantis on a range of topics, including how to be likable.
I think when you walk up there, if you have a pad, you have to write in all caps at the top of the pad, likable. And just look, I do the same thing because I have the same personality. We're both aggressive.
I love that little that was so nice. I don't know who that was saying that. I guess it was Byron Donalds. He's like, so I just desperately need you to remind yourself with a Sharpie if necessary, be likable. Because you're aggressive. That's what it is. You're not unlikable, you're just aggressive. So try to be more likable. That was a concern 5 years ago for people on his side. It is going to be a major issue going forward. Francesca.
I love it. Matt Gaetz, the arguably also least likable person in Congress. I don't know, maybe Gosar has him beat just in the way that he just kind of sort of moves his little Nazi neck, but But Matt Gaetz is so unlikable. Ron DeSantis is also, I guess, minimally more likable, but again, has this sort of like nasal snot nose, he's very defensive, and like I said, like there's nothing likable about him.
Nothing. By the way, I have to give a Blue Apron gift card on the Twitch to Oregon Craft, who just typed "note taken" and ignored. Like, I hear what you're saying about my personality. I'm sticking with it. Anyway, Oregon Craft, you have a Blue Apron gift card. Send an email to rewards@tyt.com with your first last name and your handle, and they'll get you set up. And with that, I think it's time for us to jump into our last story of the hour, everyone. Apologies, I'm just the worst to the director today. We are now into Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and that's going to take a lot of different shapes depending on where in the country you live in. But basically, the idea is supposed to be to show appreciation for and expand people's knowledge of the contributions of these communities to America. Well, there's a lot of positive parts of that. I think also one part of it is to identify some issues right now that perhaps some members of those communities feel for how they're treated, how they're seen in America. So I saw this poll, and it's fairly devastating. So there's a lot here. Nearly 3 out of 4 Chinese Americans say they have experienced racial discrimination in the past 12 months. Okay, I think, considering some of this, that's 3 out of 4 in the last year. Asian Americans, especially young Asian American women, are the least likely out of any group polled to feel they completely belong and are accepted in the US. So half of Asian Americans report feeling unsafe in the US due to their race and ethnicity. Only 22% of Asian Americans say they feel they belong and are accepted in the US. That's compared to 57% of white respondents. The other 43% are Fox viewers. 25% of Latinos, 24% of Black respondents in the survey. So look, there's a lot of people in America who don't feel like America accepts them, but it's actually even worse for this group. Francesca, what do you think?
No, I mean, it's terrible. I mean, and look, there for so many different reasons, we need to be reminded of how much inclusion and representation really matters. And the ways that I think Asian Americans in a really cruel way are seen simultaneously as model minorities, but also outsiders, right? And I think we need to, it's something we struggle with consistently, and it's something that we need to obviously work on. And of course, none of this, this is all in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic, calling something, the Kung flu, the China virus, and all of that. This is part of the reason why. But it also is, just not seeing Asian Americans in prominent places, in television, movies. It matters. It does really matter. So I don't know, John. I don't know what the answer is. I mean, I'm half Chinese, so half of me feels this, but also I'm not openly people don't walk up to me and automatically assume that I am Chinese. So,
we saw those attacks. I mean, look, we know how many on the right tried to use the situation with COVID, let alone the generalized fear mongering over China that we always have. The attempt to use COVID disgustingly, not caring about all of the violence we were seeing, the literal mass murder that we were seeing. They just kept doing it and kept doing it. And then you look at other groups too, this is the same country where we know, God help us if a movie comes out starring an Asian person. We know what the cultural backlash to that will be.
Yeah, no,
a Black person starring in a movie, they will freak the hell out. God knows why people feel like they're not accepted in America.
It's also not knowing our history. Lastly, I just want to say shout out to the PBS documentary Asian Americans. It's so good. Asian Americans have been in this country, have built this country, have worked for this country for so many generations, and we don't learn about that in school, right? And of course now we're criminalizing that in school to learn about Asian Americans' contributions and all the different waves of immigration and why. And so that is so essential. The first woman to run as a Democrat, I believe, Asian American from Hawaii, and I don't even remember her name, right? But this is so crucial, and we've erased our own history, just like we've erased so much of our history in this country. So, yeah.
Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for the first hour of the show, but there is a lot more to come in the aftermath. So if you're watching linear platforms, listening on the podcast, know that there is extra content we do on a daily basis that you can see over on YouTube. Thank you, everyone. Francesca and I'll be back in just a few. Welcome back to the Aftermath, everybody. I'm John Iadarola. That right there, that's Francesca Fiorentini. Francesca, what is going on your show this week?
Oh, yay. We have comedian Jenny Yang, who's gonna talk about being on the picket line for the WGA.
Nice.
Who else do we have? What else are we talking about?
You'll be there.
I'll be there. It's gonna be so great. Tomorrow at Franny Fio on YouTube or on Twitch at Franny Fio, or you can listen after the fact to the podcast, Bitchuation Room, wherever you get your podcasts. It'll be tight. Oh, we're gonna talk about, obviously mass gun violence, and then I don't know, some other crap.
Other things.
Other things? Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Things. Probably, usually.
I should probably work on the show.
Yeah, I think planning it would probably be cause in theory you could either plan it or you could just do it by the seat of your pants. But I'm not sure I'd recommend that at this point. But anyway, thank you everyone for being here. We've got news to talk about, including baby news. Also, we will be talking a little bit about the strike too. So there's some interesting news to come. First, a few of your comments. Sue Otness says, my 11-year-old granddaughter is half Asian and is bullied at school due to the BS Trump spouted. So sad. I told her to pop her in the nose, but then no violence. What can one do? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'll see what my stance is on that once I get to it. But it's really difficult. Kids are always looking for an excuse to be as bad as they can. They'll be as bad as they feel it's okay to be. And we have a lot of powerful people telling them to be way worse than they are.
I'm sending so much solidarity and love to your Hapa granddaughter.
Yes.
She's welcome to our club, and screw the bullies, troll the F out of them. Don't hurt them, but you control them. The pen mightier than the sword.
Yeah. So don't punch him, hit him with a pen.
Exactly.
Anyway, I saw John Wick do that once. Anyway, Daniel Sanchez says, someday this will all be a bad memory because of people like you. Thank you for existing. Thank you, and the same exact thing to you. Okay, the Dark Phoenix says, oh, hey, it's the bill I mentioned last week for the kids. Nice, I'd forgotten about it. So how dare you remind me of the absolute bad state of Texas? Apologies. But don't worry, if we don't remind you of how bad Texas is, Texas will remind you. Anyway, and by the way, I get to say that I lived there for many years. Laurel NP says the vast majority of mass killers are not psychotic, and the vast majority of psychotic people are not violent. 100% right in both cases. Okay, with that said, why don't we jump into one of the weirdest stories we've talked about in some time on the show. There's a new expense for parents to be that you can pay if you want, but don't worry, having a kid isn't expensive, so you probably have a bunch of spare money. Did you know that you can pay for baby name consultation? And you're probably wondering, well, that sounds great. I definitely want to pay for that. How much is it? Well, potentially way more than you'd think. So anyway, this is to help people navigate the difficult process of choosing a name for their baby. And there's a lot of different people that are doing this. A wide variety of different services and prices, by the way. But here's an example of one of these sorts of things. It's whatsinababyname.com, a bespoke consulting firm with an intuitive, holistic approach. By the way, you can also get things like doula services and stuff there. So one consultant, Colleen, runs at Naming Bebe, told Vox she offers 3 packages for expecting parents. On the lowest end, it's $99, provides video consultation with 16 name options. 8 name options with extensive name analysis will cost $175. At the highest end for $250, she offers a 16 name package with name analysis and says for some people, baby naming is naturally a fun process. For others, it's actually very stressful because they haven't spent the last 30 years of their lives thinking about baby names. Now, by the way, that's sort of the low end for people who do these services, $100, $200, $300. It can get more expensive, especially if you want help with baby name branding, which can cost $30,000.
Oh my God.
And that's a lot of money, it's the price of a car, but in return, you get a name that reflects their personal brand. Because if your baby comes in this world without a personal brand, honestly, it should be taken away by Child Protective Services. Francesca, what do you think?
There's so much to say.
Your baby has a name. How much did you pay for the name that he chose?
I mean, honestly, I should have just gone with like Red Bull and tried to get that money. You know what I'm saying?
That's not a bad name, actually. I like.
No, yeah, RB.
I'm gonna go with Monster. Monster Iadarola.
Monster's great. Monster Iadarola is a great name. Monster. the way that Bernie Sanders says monster.
Monster.
But no, this is, I guess I get $99 of like naming analysis. I don't know. You can just Google this stuff, right? I mean, you find out what it means. You're like, okay, that's fine. I like these letters. I like the sound. Go. It is obviously for people who have way too much time on their hands and way too much money and like think any of this actually really matters. The name will come to you. I came up with my name. This is very normal because the James Webb Telescope captured images of the Carina Nebula while I was pregnant, and they're beautiful images. And the Carina Nebula is where stars go to be born and die. And I also live in Hollywood, so it's a perfect name for my daughter. So I call her Carina, not Nebula. But anyway, the point is there's a name out there. It's lovely.
Nebula, but
anyway. Don't name your daughter Nebula.
I'm not going to. I love Carina. Carina's a great name, by the way. But yeah.
Well, first of all, I have a lot of thoughts on names, John. What's your take?
Anyway, so by the way, I also want to say this seems ridiculous at the same time. I don't care. It's obviously the most optional thing ever. If you want to put your money into this, I'm fairly certain that if you didn't, it would be something equally stupid. So whatever. I don't like, if you want to pay someone $1,000, you can do that. That's fine. There are dumber things to spend your money on. So I don't even mind. And if people want to do this as their job, if there's a demand for it, then do it. I will say that I'm a little bit worried for you in that this seems like the most replaceable job ever when it comes to AI. Like AI can do name analysis and it can do it for a lot more than 16 names. It's bespoke, you talk to them on the video or whatever. So I'm not against these people. To me, it seems like I do care about names a lot. I have spent a lot of time with my wife debating names. I believe that we have chosen, I don't want to jinx it, so we're not going to say anything. The name Jinx was denied by my wife. She wouldn't let me get that. But anyway, I think Jinx is a cool name. Anyway, and we do care about the meanings somewhat. Like she wanted a name that had sort of like meaning, like for her cultural background. Her family's Mexican American, so she wants something that had a good meaning in that. So I'm not even against that necessarily. And not everyone is going to go about it the same way I did, which is just going through every fantasy novel and sci-fi movie I've ever seen and suggesting all the women's names. So I
have 2 names that I want it to be, but I want to tell you in private, or I'll tell you.
I'm curious. You better not forget them.
Oh, of course I have them because I wanted to name my daughter these names. But here, can we just agree? The branding thing is absolutely disgusting, okay? And children these days, if you have kids who can speak, I don't yet. Hopefully she never learns. But they watch so much YouTube content and they see shows like this, and straight up when they're like, they'll say things like, "Hey, like, share, and subscribe." Guys, no. Save yourself. Don't be an influencer. Don't be like, Mama John or Papa Fran. You know what I mean? Like we do this because this is the only thing we know how to do. You
don't have any other skills.
STEM. You go get a other job. You save the world. We're just yammering all day. Don't do this.
Well, and also think about the trauma, the psychological trauma that young kids experience when they're dancing and pointing and no words show up. Like there's just no text there. They're not going to understand how the world works.
Yeah, they go out to the club and they're like, ba 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 wing. What?
There's no interesting fact about the minimum wage. Damn it. Anyway, okay. Well, I'm gonna get her names later, and I will eventually reveal the name. John's gonna name his daughter AOC. Ha ha ha. My wife said no. Anyway, with that said, we do have other names.
That is way too thirsty, dude. That's that long game. That's a psycho long game.
I'm not doing that, obviously. I'm just saying that, like, I think that Alexandria is a beautiful name. Does anyone disagree? Does anyone disagree?
No,
it's got a cute nickname, Alex. Does anyone disagree? Anyway, no, we're not doing it, obviously. I have cooler, weirder names in mind. Don't worry. Daenerys was rejected as well. And a lot of names that make Daenerys look normal, by the way, including Nebula. Okay, well, with that said, we're gonna move on to other important news in just one sec. First, though, I wanna recognize some people in the audience, including Dissident PM, who's been here for 30 months. Thank you. We are your squad, and you're part of the squad. Thoralian's been here for 26 months. Thank you. Marge just told us to pray she'll go away. I wish. Snake Anthony's been here for 27 months. Thank you. Blue Lily Blue Dragon for 19, much appreciated. Talim Toradict has been here for 32 months. Razor as well, thank you. Okay, with that, why don't we move on to much more serious news? Gamora, I think Gamora is kind of a beautiful name, actually. Anyway, okay, with that, let's jump into this. We are getting closer and closer to panel recommendations here in California for the different ideas, the proposals that have been going around for reparations. And we have some details on what form those recommendations are likely to come in. Here are a few that are apparently being considered by the organization. An estimated value of payment for healthcare disparities. So roughly $13,500 for each year of residency inside of California. Estimated payment for housing discrimination, which is about $3,400 for each year spent between 1933 and 1977. There's also an estimated payment theoretically for the effects of mass incarceration and over policing, about $2,400 during the 49-year period between 1971 and 2020. And so, look, it is incredibly likely that to the extent that you read anything about this, those are the parts that you're going to hear about, and it is certainly a part of it. Theoretically, could cost a few $1 billion. There are also other parts that are not strictly speaking monetary, including recommendations to include updated language in the state's constitution, removing racial bias and discriminatory practices in standardized testing, compensating people deprived of profits for their work, investing in and creating free healthcare programs, and apologizing for acts of political disenfranchisement. So California's black population as of right now is estimated, according to the last census, to be about 2.5 million. And it'll be coming up near the end of June that these recommendations will be officially put forward. That, of course, is just another step in the path. That doesn't mean that any will be accepted or let alone that all will be accepted. But Francesca, what do you think so far?
I think it's so important that we're talking about it, right? I think it needs to be in the conversation. And yeah, right wingers are gonna lose their minds, but no, if we don't actually envision it, if we don't put forward some concrete numbers, it's never gonna happen. And I think 2.5 million Californians, black Californians, yeah, let's do it. It will make this state a better place. It will make it a better place to live. There will be a quality of life improvement. We know what happens when people get literal cash in their hands, not what you think, what the right says they do, which is like apparently, buy Cadillacs and eat steaks. Shout out to Ronald Reagan, resting in hell. But like, this is what needs to happen. And the second part of all of this, and I sincerely believe in reparations, is actually ending the housing discrimination, ending the over-policing, and ending all of the ways that we continue to punish black Americans for being black, and we continue the legacies of slavery and Jim Crow up until today. So yes to reparations, and what are we gonna do going forward? Even if a small part of this were adopted, I think it would be a win.
Yeah. So look, I think it's certainly interesting. We're going to see what ends up happening at the state level. This is, in theory, a step towards good news for a couple million people here in California. In the short term, it is the best possible news for the white hosts of Fox News.
Sure.
Because this is all they would ever want to talk about. They want to be able to tell their 99% white audience that this is unfair, obviously. As a little thought experiment, can you imagine if the federal government a century and a half ago or 2 centuries ago had promised white people something that was worth a lot of money and then not delivered on it? Do you think that Fox would ever forget about that? Do you think that they would consider it unfair for a state government to eventually make good on a very specific promise of land or the value of a land being provided? I kind of have a feeling they would be okay with it then. Yeah, by the way, did they have problems with the subsidies to farmers during the Trump years when they at least perceived that most farmers were white? They're fine with a lot of this stuff, as long as they think it's affecting them. Anyway, with that said, we are rapidly running out of time, so we are going to get to our last story relatively soon. I'm gonna read just a few more comments. I will say that yes, names from the Wheel of Time were bandied about, but I was not successful with either Avienda or Nynaeve. I think they're both beautiful names, but my wife rejected both of them, unfortunately. So anyway, David Lucero, member for 28 months, says, don't know why being okay with the death of another human being isn't a sign of mental health issues. Well, lack of compassion, I think it's just too common, I think, in America for it to be able to be used to diagnose anything. It's just everywhere. People are suggesting Sigourney or Ripley. I do actually like Ripley. Jalen's suggesting Francesca. I think Francesca would think that would be a little bit weird. I did, however, after
playing
watching
the long game, John. I can't blame you, buddy. JK.
After watching Guardians of the Galaxy, I did consider, I know this is gonna seem crazy, but is, for a girl, the name Rocket not kind of cool? Rocket
God, I swear to God.
Last name Kit?
No. Stop. This is we're in an era of naming our kids like our pets, you know? They're like, and our pets like our kids. It's like,
well, I'm gonna name my next dog Churro, and I'm not suggesting that for a human, to be fair.
Because you're a coward.
But anyway, probably. I did suggest after Nebula, Nova.
Nova's a cute name. Nova's a very
the translation into Spanish though makes it seem like she's really not going anywhere though, unfortunately.
Nova. Nova.
That kind of hurts it. Anyway, see, I'm learning. Okay, with that said, why don't we move into our final story of the show with this?
Where the studios are and where the writers are right now. And so what is the trigger that actually puts them back together besides just time?
I think a love for the business and a love for working. We all came into this business because we love storytelling. We want to entertain, right. And when we're at our best, we get a chance to have an impact on the culture.
So that right there is CEO of Warner Brothers, David Zaslav, who says that the strike that the WGA is in the just opening days of will be broken because of a love of the work. That is, after all, what all of these mega corporations are about. It's just everybody coming together because they love it evenly. Look, I think a lot of the writers are in it at the end of the day for the love of the work. If they just wanted to make money, there are easier ways to make money. I think that they are artists, they're creative people, but they also want to be able to live when doing their creative stuff. And look, I will say, and I'm sure many of the people discussing this video probably are not going to acknowledge, he does also come out and say, in order to create good storytelling, we need great writers. He says he wants writers to feel like they're valued, which they are, and compensated fairly. So he does go out and say, we're gonna try to negotiate and all that stuff. But the idea that it's just about the love of the game, when for him, it sure seems as if the love of the work isn't enough for him to do it. Or else, why did they pay him this last year $39 million? Why did the year before that, including stock options, why did he pull in $246.6 million in 1 year? It sure seems like the love of the work is good, but I'd like $250 million, please. So anyway, will he end up being an ally? That remains to be seen. But it seems a little bit condescending to talk like that about people who are holding out for what they seem like an existential crisis.
I don't see people think I do this for my near $300 million payout, but actually it was Space Jam 2. I'm gonna be real with you. The way LeBron just interacted with those cartoons, it's the love of it. You know what I mean? It's the love of story. And I love
Porky Pig's character arc made me weep.
Yeah,
that's why I wake up in the morning.
It's amazing to me the BS these guys get away with, and the fact that there's no follow-up question, John, which is exactly that. Would you still do this job, sir, if you were making what writers made, right? Or not even what writers made, but like, I don't know, a sixth more of what writers made instead of like whatever, 100 times as much as they make. And the answer is no. And first of all, studios are gonna wait. They are prepared for this. They are not gonna give up their second or third homes. CEOs won't. Everyone else is going to suffer. It's not just writers, it's production workers. It is people who are, just waiting and pending. And they're all gonna suffer because studios can and want to wait this out. And so we will see. It's gonna be a really tough fight, but again, it is a fight that needs to happen now. Yeah. Because if writers don't take this stand now, it is only downhill from here for them, and then again for everyone else who works on productions like this.
Yeah, it's gonna get worse. It's gonna get worse. By the way, the other guys around the table on that thing, they were all like, they kept coming back to, well, some people think this is actually strike is good. Some people think more value. Some people, these are tens of thousands of people's livelihoods. But for them, it's all just like, there was a number on a thing in New York that went up. That's all it is for them at the end of the day. Anyway, little updates on some of what's going on. Some companies are coming out and saying that they are going to be putting a halt on projects, even projects where the scripts are finished. That's what a lot of them are using as a way to say we're still going to keep going forward.
Sure.
Stranger Things is halted. They're not going forward with it, even though I guess the scripts had been completed. Andor season 2 is going forward, as is House of the Dragon. So a lot of people are looking to see, which side a lot of these people come down on. And it's not strictly speaking like that they have to stop because they still need the writers, but like still, it's a complex situation. I think a lot of them are going to approach it in different ways.
Yep. Well, now we know where the picket line will be.
Yeah, but thankfully it won't be crossing through Hawkins. Anyway, with that said, that's all the time we have for today's program, everyone. We got to go record our top 10 list for the week, which goes out every week to our tier 2 and tier 3 members on YouTube. We're going to be a couple episodes out from the end of Succession, giving things we want to happen in the series with the moments that remain. So that should be a fun one. You can become a member and you'll be able to watch that on YouTube. Thank you, Francesca, for being here, as always.
Thank you.
Great to have you here, by the way. And for those of you watching at home, Indisputable is up next, so look forward to that. And for now, though, stay safe out there, stay sane out there. I'll see you soon.